Hi class, wearing my Broncos suit today with a little Philip Lindsay, one of my hats. I'll be wearing Broncos stuff for the rest of the week just to show you everything that I have. Well, not everything because I don't have enough days for that. But thought I'd show you off my cool winter Broncos suit. And we're going to do some Wishtree reading today. We're on chapter 16 and we left off with the cops coming over and doing the the tape, cross police line. Don't cross the police line tape. I speak well. And we also met the landlord, Francesca, who owns the two houses where the tree is. So she lives across the street. So we figured that out. So let's figure out what happened next. When you're a tree, a phrase like cut it down is bound to get your attention. Francesca had hinted at such things before, but always in jest after a long October afternoon raking my newly shed leaves into crisp hills, or after a particularly messy wishing day, or after stepping on my acorns and bare feet. I felt bad about the walkways. It's an occupational hazard. To stay alive, I need a vast network of roots, and roots can be surprisingly strong. Did you hear that? Bongo asked, watching Francesca enter her house. She sounded serious this time. I've heard it all before, I said. Unfortunately, the newbies heard it too, Bongo said. Bongo calls every fresh crop of babies newbies. She pretends to be annoyed by the antics, but I know better. Listen, Bongo urged. Sure enough, I could hear the baby skunks wailing from their hidden nest under the porch. But we love Red, Mama, one of them cried. Hush, their mother, Fresh-Baked Bread scolded. It's the middle of the day. You're supposed to be asleep. You're crepuscular. Crepuscular creatures like fireflies, bats, and deer are especially active at dusk and dawn. Will Red be all right, Mama? Another baby whose voice I recognize as Rose Petal asked. All skunks name themselves after pleasant scents, like the fresh-baked bread. I am not sure if this is because they're a bit defensive about their reputation or if they just have a sly sense of humor. Of course, said her mother, Red is indestructible. Bongo looked at me. See what I mean? Oh dear, I said. By tonight they'll all have heard. The opossums, the raccoons, the owls. Little Harold will be beside himself. Harold was the smallest barn owl, nestling and a great warrior. Barn owls give themselves sensible no-fuss names. I'll talk to everyone, Bongo said. Calm them down. Tell them not to worry. I'm sure things will be fine, I said. I've seen a lot in my years. The things I've fretted about that have never come to pass. I could write a book. I paused. In fact, I could be a book, I paused again. Because, paper is made of trees. Bongo gave a screechy crow laugh. She didn't even scold me for my lame joke. That's when I started to worry. Chapter 17. As much as I was concerned about the baby's reactions to Francesca's words, I was more worried about Samar. What would happen when she returned from school and I saw the word carved into me? Would she think it was meant for her? And for her family and Francesca, and the police seemed to assume? She came home alone. Ahead of her by a few yards was Stephen. A reporter from the neighborhood newspaper was waiting on the sidewalk, interviewing people as they walked by. Word travels fast in our parts, especially when there's yellow police tape involved. Had they seen what happened? The reporter kept asking. Had they ever made wishes on wishing day? What did they think the word leave meant? The reporter approached Stephen. Did he know why someone would carve leave into the beloved local wish tree? Stephen stared at the reporter. Then he glanced behind at Samar, sending her shadow to a sad smile. Without answering the reporter, he headed toward his house. Samar's eyes darted from Stephen to the reporter to me. She ran closer, saw the word, and gasped. She reached a hand toward me, but the police tape put me out of reach. Are you a resident? The reporter asked. Would you like to comment on the incident? Samar didn't say a word. She turned and walked up the sagging steps of the little blue house, her head held high, standing tall, reaching deep. Chapter 18. Around 6 that evening, Sandy and Max returned. But the police knocked on the door of the greenhouse. Stephen's parents opened it and answered questions. They shook their heads. They shrugged. Then they shut their door and closed the curtains. When the police knocked on the door of the blue house, Samar's parents opened it and answered questions. They rubbed their eyes. They sighed. Then they too shut their door and closed the curtains. As Sandy and Max headed back to the cruiser, Sandy paused beneath me. I wonder if we should make a wish, she said. It might be our last chance. Tell you what I'd wish for, Max said. I wish I didn't have to investigate things like this. Sandy patted his shoulder. I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. As for me, I spent the evening hours reassuring the parents and offspring who called me their home. They weren't just worried about where they would have to move, of course. They were worried about me. I was worried about me, too. I didn't want to leave the world I loved so much. I wanted to meet the next spring owl's nestlings. I wanted to praise the new maple sapling across the street when it blushed red as sunset. I wanted my roots to journey farther, my branches to reach higher. But that is how it is when you love life. And I could accept that if my time had come, it had come. After a life as fine as mine, who was I to complain? I was worried about the babies, though, about their parents scrambling to find new, safe places to line their nests, dig their burrows, hide their winter stashes of acorns. Most of all, I was worried about Samar. I don't know why. Perhaps it was because she reminded me so much of another little girl from an other time long ago. A little girl I managed to shelter successfully. Francesca's great-grandmother. Like I said, we go way back. So there's a cool story about Francesca's grandmother that we would have to figure out. And I think it kind of completes the story a little bit. That's all for today. And we'll read more tomorrow. Looks like I could probably get another 3 in tomorrow. Yeah, these are getting a little bit longer. So we'll do more tomorrow. We're on chapter 19 tomorrow. And go Broncos. And I miss you all. And I hope you're enjoying our read aloud. Wishtree.